She had millions in the bank, designer everything, and a life most people could only dream of. But Amara Lowell was about to discover that the one thing her heart truly desired couldn't be bought with all the money in the world. When her tire went flat on a random Tuesday, she never expected the maintenance worker who came to her rescue would be the single father who'd turn her perfectly controlled existence upside down. What started as a simple act of kindness would soon become a battle between two worlds, his of genuine love and community, hers of wealth and power, with a devastating secret about to surface that could destroy everything they'd built together. Little did Amara know, someone close to her was already plotting to expose her newfound happiness to the world, and the price of loving Evan Carter and his 6-year-old daughter Mia would be higher than she ever imagined. But when you're used to buying your way out of every problem, what happens when the solution requires sacrificing everything you've ever known? If you're watching this story unfold, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. I want to know if love stories like this give you hope no matter where in the world you are. The late afternoon sun painted the sidewalk golden as Amara Lowell stepped out of her town car. Her driver had disappeared around the corner to grab coffee, leaving her stranded with a flat tire and a growing puddle of frustration. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through contacts for roadside assistance, when she heard footsteps. "Ma'am, you need help?" Amara looked up to find a man in a Navy maintenance polo watching her with kind eyes. A little girl in a unicorn hoodie peeked out from behind his legs, clutching a juice box. "Oh," Amara smoothed her pencil skirt. "My driver will be back soon. Thank you, though." The man glanced at the flat tire, then back at her expensive heels. "Might be a while before he finds a jack in this neighborhood." He gestured toward the apartment building behind him. "I've got tools upstairs. Won't take 10 minutes. Something about his steady voice made her pause. Most people either recognized her last name and got nervous, or they didn't care at all. This felt different, normal. "I'm Evan," he said, already heading toward the building. "This is Mia," the little girl waved shyly. "Daddy fixes everything." Amara found herself following them. "I'm Amara," Evan returned with a portable pump and jack, working with the easy confidence of someone who'd done this 100 times before. Mia sat on the curb nearby, narrating his every move. "Now he's checking the bolts. He always checks twice because being safe is important. Right, Daddy?" "Right, sweetheart." Evan's hands moved quickly but carefully. "Safety first." Amara watched, oddly mesmerized. She'd spent the day in back-to-back meetings about product launches and profit margins. This felt real in a way her world rarely did. "There." Evan straightened up, wiping his hands on a rag. "Good as new." Amara reached for her purse. "What do I owe you?" Evan shook his head. "Nothing, just being a good neighbor. But your time was mine to give." He packed up his tools. "Besides, Mia likes helping people, don't you, kiddo?" The little girl nodded seriously and pulled a sheet of neon stickers from her pocket. She peeled off a star and handed it to Amara. "For bravery." Amara stared at the bright pink star. When was the last time someone had given her something that cost nothing but meant everything? "Thank you," she said softly, carefully placing the sticker on her phone case. "Both of you." Evan's smile was warm and uncomplicated. Just neighbors looking out for each other. As they walked toward the building, Mia chattered about her day at school. "We learned about community helpers, like firefighters and teachers," and she looked up at her dad, "and maintenance supervisors who fix things." "That's right," Evan ruffled her hair. "Everyone's got something important to do." Amara felt something twist in her chest. When was the last time someone had talked about her work like it mattered, without mentioning her family's money? Her phone buzzed, a text from her driver. "Be there in 5. "I should go," she said reluctantly. Evan nodded. "Drive safe." But instead of leaving, Amara found herself asking, "What do you do here, besides rescue stranded drivers?" "I supervise building maintenance for this complex and 2 others nearby. Keep everything running smooth." He shifted Mia to his other side. "We've got our routine down pretty good, don't we, Mia? Pancakes on Sundays, story time every night, and Daddy checks all the smoke detectors every month because taking care of people matters," Evan finished gently. The words hit Amara harder than they should have. Taking care of people. When was the last time someone had taken care of her without wanting something in return? Her town car pulled up. Amara waved at her driver but didn't move toward the vehicle. "Thank you again," she said, "for everything." "Any time." Evan's eyes crinkled at the corners. "That's what neighbors do." As Amara settled into the back seat, she watched through the window as Evan and Mia walked hand in hand toward their building. The little girl was explaining something with wild gestures, and Evan was listening like every word mattered. Amara pressed her fingers to the sticker on her phone. For bravery. Maybe it was time to be brave about something other than business deals. An hour later, Amara stood outside Rose's Corner Bakery with 2 white boxes tied with red ribbon. The woman behind the counter had asked 3 times if she was sure she wanted this much chocolate, and Amara had nodded each time. She wasn't sure about much lately, but she was sure about this. The courtyard behind Evan's building was small but inviting. Picnic tables sat under string lights that weren't lit yet. Playground occupied one corner, and Mia was already there, trying to coax a orange tabby cat down from a tree. "Mr. Whiskers doesn't like being stuck," she called to her father, who was checking the hinges on the courtyard gate. "He'll come down when he's ready," Evan replied. "Cats are smart like that." Amara cleared her throat. Hello again." Evan looked up, surprised. "Amara, everything okay with your car?" "Perfect." She held up the bakery boxes. "I brought thank you cookies, chocolate chip and oatmeal raisin. I wasn't sure what you liked." Mia abandoned her cat rescue mission and bounded over. "Cookies, are they soft or crunchy?" "Both kinds," Amara said, opening the first box. "Want to try one?" "Can I, Daddy?" Evan checked his watch. "1 cookie before dinner." Mia chose chocolate chip and bit into it with serious concentration. "This is really good, thank you." "You're welcome." Amara looked around the courtyard. "This is nice, peaceful." "The tenants put it together last year," Evan said, accepting an oatmeal cookie. "Everyone pitched in. Mrs. Chen brought the picnic tables. Mr. Patel fixed the lighting. It's become the heart of the building." Amara imagined her own apartment building with its marble lobby and doorman who barely acknowledged the residents. People really know each other here. Small building, big hearts. Evan took a bite of cookie and nodded approvingly. "This is excellent." Mia had finished her cookie and was eyeing the playground. "Daddy, can we play catch?" "Sure, sweetheart." As Evan fetched a soft foam ball from a storage bin, Amara found herself following them to the grassy area. Mia threw the ball to her father, who caught it easily and tossed it back underhand. "Want to try?" Mia asked Amara. Amara looked down at her work clothes. She hadn't played catch since. Actually, she couldn't remember ever playing catch. "I'm not very good at this," she admitted. "That's okay. Daddy says practice makes better, not perfect." Evan threw the ball gently in Amara's direction. She caught it awkwardly, nearly dropping it, but Mia cheered anyway. "Good catch! Now throw it to me." For the next 20 minutes, they formed an imperfect triangle, tossing the ball back and forth. Amara's throws were wobbly, but Mia always ran to retrieve them with enthusiasm. Evan offered quiet tips. "Step forward when you throw, and keep your eye on the ball," without making her feel foolish. When a warm breeze lifted Amara's hair, she noticed Evan watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Something soft and curious. It made her stomach flutter in a way that business presentations never did. "I should probably head inside," Evan said eventually. "Mia's got homework, and we need to start dinner." "Of course." Amara suddenly felt like an intruder. "I'm sorry if I'm keeping you." "You're not." His voice was gentle. "It's just, we have our routine." Mia tugged on Amara's jacket. "Do you want to see our apartment? Daddy painted my room purple with white clouds." "Mia," Evan said quietly. "Maybe another time." But Amara was looking at the little girl's hopeful face and thinking about her own empty apartment with its designer furniture and silence. "Can I see you both again?" she heard herself ask. "Maybe for a movie night out here? I noticed the projector setup." Evan hesitated. Mia bounced on her toes. "Please, Daddy, she likes cookies and catch." "There's supposed to be a community movie tomorrow night," Amara said quickly. "On the green downtown, I saw the flyers." She was making it up as she went, but she didn't want this feeling to end. "Maybe we could—" "Mia's bedtime is 8, Evan said carefully, "and she doesn't bend routines well." "Of course." Amara felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I didn't think—" "But," Evan continued, "if it starts early enough—" Mia grabbed her father's hand. "Is that a yes?" Evan looked at Amara, then at his daughter's excited face. It's a maybe. Let me check what time it starts. As they walked toward the building, Amara felt lighter than she had in months. She didn't know what this was, this feeling, this pull toward a man who fixed flat tires and a little girl who gave out bravery stickers. But she wanted to find out. That evening, Amara sat in her apartment overlooking the harbor, eating takeout sushi and thinking about foam ball catches and chocolate chip cookies. Her phone rang. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Her father's voice filled the room through the speaker. "Good. Productive." She picked at her California roll. "The Johnson campaign wants to expand their digital presence. I think we can build something really special for them." "Excellent. And the Harbor Court acquisition?" Amara paused. She'd forgotten all about the building purchase. "Still in early talks, I think. Why?" "The property has excellent potential for renovation. Prime location, solid bones. We could flip it or hold it for rental income." "Right." Amara pushed her food around. "Dad, do you ever wonder if we're missing something? In all our deals and acquisitions?" Marcus Lowell's laugh was warm but puzzled. "Missing what?" "We're doing well, Amara. Better than well." "I know, it's just—" She thought about Evan's steady confidence, the way Mia had presented that sticker like a medal. "Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to build something instead of just buying it. You build products every day, beautiful digital experiences. I mean, something real, something that brings people together." "Money brings people together, sweetheart. It gives us options, freedom, the ability to help others." Amara nodded, though he couldn't see her. Her father wasn't wrong. Money did provide options. But watching Evan and Mia together had shown her something different, connection that didn't cost anything but meant everything. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too. Get some rest." After they hung up, Amara walked to her floor-to-ceiling windows. The harbor sparkled below, boats bobbing like scattered diamonds. Beautiful, expensive, lonely. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Movie starts at 7 tomorrow. We'll be there by 6:45 if you want to find us. Thanks for the cookies. Evan." Amara smiled and saved his contact information. Then she set her alarm an hour early. She had a movie to attend. Friday evening found Amara arriving at the town square at 6:30, carrying a thick blanket and a thermos of hot chocolate she'd made from scratch. She'd also stopped by the grocery store for fruit snacks, the kind with fun shapes that she'd seen other parents buying. The green was already dotted with families setting up chairs and blankets. A large screen stood at one end, waiting for darkness. Amara chose a spot with a good view and spread out her blanket, feeling nervous and excited in equal measure. "Amara!" She turned to see Mia running toward her, dressed in rainbow leggings and a unicorn sweatshirt. Evan followed more slowly, carrying a small backpack and wearing jeans that made him look younger. "You came!" Mia plopped down on the blanket like they'd done this 100 times before. "I said I would." Amara opened the thermos. "Hot chocolate? With marshmallows?" Amara had forgotten marshmallows. I brought some." Evan settled beside them and pulled a bag of mini marshmallows from his backpack. Never go to a movie without proper supplies. As the sky darkened and the movie began, a family-friendly comedy about talking animals, Amara found herself relaxing. Mia snuggled against her side during the funny parts and hid her face during the mildly suspenseful moments. Evan shared his popcorn and pointed out constellations during the slower scenes. "That's the Big Dipper," he murmured to both of them. "And if you follow it—" "Polaris," Amara said softly. "The North Star." Evan looked at her with surprise. "You know astronomy?" "A little. I used to have a telescope when I was younger." She'd forgotten about that telescope, forgotten how she used to sneak onto her family's roof to look at the stars. "I wanted to be an astronaut." "That's so cool," Mia whispered. "What happened?" Amara thought about boarding schools and business degrees and expectations. "I got interested in other things." "Like what?" Mia asked. "Like building websites and apps, making sure people can find information they need online." "Do you like it?" The simple question hit harder than it should have. Most of the time. Halfway through the movie, Mia fell asleep with her head on Amara's shoulder. Evan gently covered her with a light blanket from his backpack. "She's had a big week," he said quietly. "New math unit at school, and she's been practicing for the school talent show. What's her talent? Knock-knock jokes. Evan's smile was soft with pride. She's got about 50 of them memorized. Amara looked down at the sleeping child. Mia's face was peaceful, completely trusting. When was the last time Amara had felt that secure? She's lucky to have you, she whispered. I'm the lucky one. Evan's voice carried something deeper than words. Being her dad is the best thing I've ever done. A warm feeling spread through Amara's chest. She dated men who spoke passionately about their cars, their careers, their investment portfolios. She'd never heard anyone talk about being a parent like it was both an honor and a joy. As the movie credits began to roll, other families started packing up around them. Mia stirred but didn't wake. I should get her home, Evan said regretfully. Past bedtime and she's got soccer in the morning. Amara nodded, though she didn't want the evening to end. Of course. As Evan gently lifted Mia into his arms, Amara's phone buzzed with an email notification. She almost ignored it, but something made her glance at the screen. Her blood ran cold. The subject line read, Urgent, Accelerating Harbor Court Acquisition Timeline. Below that, an address that made her stomach drop. 12 Harbor Court, Evans Building. Amara stared at the phone, her mind racing. The acquisition her father had mentioned, the property with excellent potential for renovation. She was looking at Evan's home, Mia's home, the building with the courtyard where they had played catch just hours ago. Amara, Evan had noticed her frozen expression. Everything okay? She quickly shut off her phone. Yes, sorry, work email. But as she helped pack up the blanket and thermos, Amara's thoughts churned. Her family's company was planning to buy Evans Building. Depending on their renovation plans, that could mean displacement for the tenants, changes to Evan's job, disruption to the community she'd just witnessed. And she hadn't told him. Can I walk you to your car? Evan asked as they reached the edge of the green. That's okay. I'm just around the corner. Mia stirred in her father's arms. Amara, did you like the movie? I loved it, Amara said, kissing the little girl's forehead without thinking. The gesture felt natural, right? Sweet dreams. Can we do it again sometime? We'll see, Evan said gently. Sleep now. As Amara watched them walk away, her phone felt heavy in her pocket. She should have told Evan immediately, but the evening had been so perfect, and she'd wanted to hold on to it a little longer. Now, she had to figure out how to tell a man she was falling for that her family might be about to turn his world upside down. At midnight, Amara sat at her kitchen island with her laptop open, reading through the Harbor Court acquisition documents. Her father's company had been quietly negotiating for weeks. The building was described as underutilized property with significant renovation potential. Translation: they wanted to gut it and turn it into luxury condos. Amara thought about Mrs. Chen's picnic tables and Mr. Patel's lighting, the orange cat that Mia tried to rescue, Evan's pride in taking care of his tenants. Her calendar chimed with a reminder, pre-meeting with acquisitions team in 36 hours. She had that long to figure out how to tell Evan the truth, and whether there was any way to protect what they had started building, whatever that was. Amara closed the laptop and looked out at the harbor. The boats still bobbed like scattered diamonds, but now they looked more like warning lights. She was falling for a man whose life she might be about to destroy, and she had to find the courage to tell him before someone else did. Saturday morning brought unseasonable warmth and the smell of pancakes from Rose's Corner Diner. Amara had been awake since 5, rehearsing different versions of her confession. Each one sounded worse than the last. She pushed through the diner's glass door at 7:30, hoping coffee would clear her head. Instead, she nearly collided with a familiar unicorn sweatshirt. Amara! Mia beamed up at her. Are you having pancakes too? Evan looked up from the booth where he'd been cutting Mia's pancakes into perfect squares. He smiled, and Amara's heart did something complicated. Good morning, he said. You're up early for a weekend. Couldn't sleep. Amara gestured toward the counter, just grabbing coffee to go. Don't be silly, Rosa called from behind the grill. Sit down, I'll make you my special. Amara hesitated. She should leave, figure out what to say, practice her speech. Instead, she found herself sliding into the booth across from Evan and Mia. What's Rosa's special? She asked. Pancakes with berries and whipped cream, Mia said seriously. And real maple syrup, not the fake kind. Mia's a pancake expert, Evan said. She judges them on fluffiness, flavor, and pretty factor. What's pretty factor? How nice they look when Rosa draws on them with whipped cream. Mia demonstrated by making swirls on her own plate. See? Like clouds. Rosa arrived with coffee and the Promise special. The pancakes were indeed fluffy, and Rosa had drawn what looked like a flower on top with whipped cream and berries. Beautiful, Amara said, meaning it. As they ate, Evan mentioned his plans for the day, grocery shopping, fixing a wobbly table leg, maybe taking Mia to the park if the weather held. What about you? He asked. Amara thought about her actual plans, reviewing acquisition documents, calling her father, figuring out how to confess her family's involvement without destroying whatever this was between them. Work stuff, she said vaguely. Nothing exciting. When they finished breakfast, Evan offered her a ride to wherever she was headed. That's okay. I like walking. The walk is our favorite part, Mia said, sliding her hand into her father's. We count red cars and look for dogs and say hi to Mr. Patterson at the flower shop. Sounds perfect, Amara said. And it did. She couldn't remember the last time she'd walked anywhere, just for the pleasure of it. Outside the diner, Rosa caught Amara's arm. You okay, honey? You look worried. Rosa's eyes were kind but sharp. Amara had the strange feeling this woman could see right through her. Just thinking about work. Mm-hmm. Rosa squeezed her arm. Let me tell you something my grandmother used to say. Honesty early saves pain later. Whatever's weighing on you, better to speak it than carry it. As Amara walked back toward her apartment, Rosa's words echoed in her head. Honesty early saves pain later. She pulled out her phone and typed carefully. There's something about my work I need to tell you today. Can we talk after you clock out? She stared at the message for a full minute before hitting send. Evan's reply came back quickly. After 5, courtyard. Amara spent the rest of the day trying to find the right words. By 5 o'clock, she still didn't have them. Evan was waiting on the same bench where they'd first talked, still in his work clothes. He stood when he saw her approach. You sounded serious in your text, he said gently. Everything okay? Amara sat down, her hands twisted in her lap. It's about my family's business. My father owns Lowell Properties. We develop commercial real estate, mostly office buildings and retail spaces. Evan nodded, not seeing where this was headed. Yesterday, I found out we're in talks to acquire a residential building. Amara forced herself to meet his eyes. 12 Harbor Court. The color drained from Evan's face. This building. I only learned about it last night, during the movie. The words tumbled out faster now. I had no idea when I met you. I'm not directly involved in real estate. I'm a product lead for our digital division, but my family owns the company, so technically, Evan stood up, pacing a few steps away. How long have the talks been going on? A few weeks, according to the documents, but I swear I didn't know until yesterday. What are the plans? Renovation? Conversion? Amara's silence was answer enough. Luxury condos, Evan said flatly. Of course. I don't know the details yet, but if it helps, I can advocate for tenant impact studies, relocation assistance, ensuring current residents have options. Stop. Evan's voice was quiet but firm. Just stop. He sat back down but further away, creating space between them. I need to think about this, about what it means for Mia. I understand, and I want you to know whatever I can do to minimize disruption. Amara, Evan looked at her directly. I appreciate your honesty, really, but I need space to process this. Mia's stability is my first priority. The words hit like a physical blow, but Amara nodded. Of course. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You told me now. That matters. As Amara stood to leave, Evan called after her. For what it's worth, I believe you didn't know, but this changes things. Walking away felt like leaving pieces of herself behind, but as the sun set over the courtyard, Amara knew Rosa was right. Honesty early saved pain later. Now she just had to figure out what came next. Behind her, Mr. Patel approached Evan with a worried expression. Everything all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. Might have, Evan said quietly. If new owners come in, What happens to our jobs? Our hours? Mr. Patel's face fell. Oh, Evan, you heard something? As Amara disappeared around the corner, she missed the conversation that followed. But she would have understood Evan's fears completely, because for the first time in her life, she was more worried about someone else's happiness than her own. The next morning brought rain and gray skies that matched Amara's mood. She sat in her office reviewing the Harbor Court files, looking for any detail that might offer hope. The building was old but structurally sound. The location was prime, walking distance to downtown, harbor views from the upper floors. On paper, it was exactly the kind of property her father loved to develop. In reality, it was home to 43 people, including the man she was falling for and his 6-year-old daughter who collected knock-knock jokes. Amara's assistant knocked on her door. "Your father's here to see you." Marcus Lowell entered with coffee and his usual energy. "Morning, sweetheart. Ready to talk Harbor Court?" "Actually, I wanted to discuss that project." "Excellent. I've been thinking we should fast-track it, strike while the market's hot." "Dad, what do you know about the current tenants?" Marcus waved a hand dismissively. "Standard residential mix. The property management company handles all that. Why?" "I drove by yesterday. It seems like a really close community. People who've lived there for years." "That's sweet, Amara, but we're not running a charity. The building is underutilized. We can triple its value with the right renovation." Amara thought about Mia's laughter in the courtyard, Evan's careful attention to every resident's needs. What if we explored other options? Maybe improve the existing structure instead of gutting it? Marcus studied his daughter carefully. "This is unusual for you. You've never shown much interest in the residential side." "Maybe I should have." "Is there something you're not telling me?" Amara almost confessed everything then. About Evan, about Mia, about falling for a life so different from her own. But she wasn't ready to expose what felt too fragile to examine in daylight. "I just think we should consider all options." Marcus kissed her forehead. "Your compassion is one of your best qualities, but business is business. The Harbor Court deal moves forward." After he left, Amara stared out her office window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Evan was probably explaining to Mia why their home might change. Somewhere, a little girl who gave out bravery stickers might be learning that the adult world was more complicated than knock-knock jokes. Amara pulled out her phone and scrolled to Evan's number. She typed and deleted a dozen messages before settling on, "I'm thinking of you and Mia. If you want to talk, I'm here." She stared at the message for a long time before hitting send. His reply came an hour later. "Thank you. We're okay for now." It wasn't much, but it was something, and for someone who was used to buying whatever she wanted, Amara was learning that the most important things couldn't be purchased. They could only be earned. As part one of their story drew to a close, Amara sat in her apartment that evening, looking out at the harbor lights. The rain had stopped, but clouds still covered the stars. She thought about Evan's steady hands fixing her tire, Mia's innocent trust, the way a simple game of catch had made her feel more connected than any networking event ever had. Tomorrow, the acquisition meeting would happen. Decisions would be made that would affect real people's lives. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Amara would have to figure out who she wanted to be. The woman her father had raised, who saw opportunity in every transaction. Or the woman she was becoming, who understood that some things were worth more than money could measure. Her phone buzzed with one last message from Evan. "Mia wants you to know she's saving you a sticker, for when you need extra bravery." Amara smiled through tears she didn't expect. Leave it to a 6-year-old to know exactly what she needed to hear. Tomorrow would bring difficult conversations and harder choices. Tonight, she held on to the gift of a friendship that had already changed everything, even if she didn't know how it would end. The acquisition meeting happened on a Tuesday morning that felt like any other, until it changed everything. Amara sat at the polished conference table, listening to architects describe their plans for Harbor Court. Words like maximize square footage and luxury finishes filled the air while she thought about Mia's laughter echoing in the courtyard. "The existing tenants will receive 60 days' notice," the lead developer was saying. "Standard relocation assistance, of course." 60 days. Amara imagined explaining that timeline to a 6-year-old who counted on pancakes at Rosa's every Sunday. What about alternative approaches, she heard herself ask. Renovation instead of demolition. Her father looked surprised. Amara, we've been through this. I know, but what if we could improve the property while keeping the community intact? The architects exchanged glances. The profit margins wouldn't justify. Not everything has to be about maximum profit, Amara said quietly. Silence fell over the room. Marcus Lowell studied his daughter with new interest. We'll take this under advisement, he said finally. Meeting adjourned. As everyone filed out, Marcus stayed behind. Want to tell me what's really going on? Amara thought. About lying, deflecting, changing the subject. Instead, she found herself telling the truth. I met someone who lives there, a maintenance supervisor named Evan. He has a 6-year-old daughter. They're good people, Dad. Really good people. Marcus's expression softened. Ah, I see. Do you? Because I'm not sure I do. You're falling for him. The words hung between them. Amara had been avoiding that truth, but hearing it spoken aloud made denial impossible. Maybe. I don't know. All I know is that the thought of destroying his home makes me sick. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Tell me about him. So Amara did. She told him about the flat tire, the courtyard movie night, the way Evan listened to his daughter like every word mattered. She told him about feeling more like herself in 3 days than she had in 3 years. He sounds like a good man, Marcus said finally. He is. And you think I'm the villain in this story. Amara met her father's eyes. I think you're a businessman who's forgotten that numbers represent people. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You know, your mother used to say something similar when you were small, that I got so focused on building our empire, I sometimes forgot who I was building it for. What did you tell her? That I was doing it for you, for your future. He smiled sadly. She said the best future I could give you was teaching you to see people, not just opportunities. Amara felt tears prick her eyes. I barely remember her. She would have liked this, Evan. She always said the measure of a man wasn't his bank account, but how he treated the people who couldn't do anything for him. So what do we do about Harbor Court? Marcus stood up. You do what you think is right, and I'll support whatever decision you make. Really? Really? He kissed her forehead. But Amara, if this man is as good as you say, he's going to need to know your feelings come from the heart, not from guilt. That afternoon, Amara found herself walking toward Harbor Court with no clear plan. She just needed to see Evan, to tell him about the meeting, to figure out what came next. She found him in the building's small maintenance room, bent over a toolbox. When he looked up and saw her, his expression was carefully neutral. Amara, everything okay? I wanted to update you on the acquisition. Evan straightened slowly. Bad news or worse news? I slowed things down, asked for alternative proposals, but I can't promise anything permanent. I appreciate that. His voice was formal, distant, but you didn't have to come tell me in person. Yes, I did. Amara stepped into the small room. Evan, I need you to know this isn't about guilt or obligation. What I feel for you, for Mia, it started before I knew about the building. What you feel for us, Amara's heart hammered. I care about you, both of you, more than I probably should after knowing you for a week. Evan was quiet for a long moment. Amara, you're a good person, but you live in a different world. You can slow down business deals with a phone call. I fix broken faucets and worry about making rent. That doesn't matter to me. It should. Evan's voice was gentle but firm. Because even if your family doesn't buy this building, there will be other buildings, other deals, other times when your world and mine don't line up. The words stung because they held truth. So what are you saying? I'm saying we should be realistic about what this is. And what is it? Evan looked at her for a long moment. I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Carefully. Relief flooded through Amara. Carefully sounds good. There would have to be rules, boundaries. Like what? Mia comes first, always. Her routine, her stability, her feelings. Of course. And no surprises involving her. If something big happens with your family's business, I need to know before she does. Absolutely. And we go slow, really slow. Whatever this is between us, it has to be built on something more solid than good intentions. Amara nodded. What does slow look like? A small smile tugged at Evan's lips. Coffee sometimes. Maybe dinner when I can arrange childcare, getting to know each other like normal people do. I'd like that. Amara felt shy suddenly. I should probably tell you I don't actually know how to do this, the normal people thing. What do you mean? I've never dated anyone who wasn't connected to my family's business somehow, or who didn't know about the money first. Evan's expression softened. Then we'll figure it out together. As Amara left Harbor Court that afternoon, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years, hope mixed with uncertainty. For once, she didn't know how things would turn out, and strangely, that felt like freedom. Over the next 2 weeks, Amara and Evan began building something careful and real. They met for coffee on Tuesday mornings before his shift started. They had dinner Friday night at a small Italian restaurant where the owner knew Evan's name but not Amara's last name. Slowly, Amara began to see Evan's life from the inside. He showed her the community garden behind the building where Mrs. Chen grew vegetables for everyone to share. He introduced her to Rosa, who served them free dessert and winked at Amara like they shared a secret. And gradually, very gradually, Amara became part of Mia's world too. It started with small things. Amara would stop by the courtyard after work sometimes, bringing homework help or just sitting on the bench while Mia played. She learned that Mia loved knock-knock jokes but was terrible at remembering the punchlines. She discovered that the little girl's favorite color was rainbow, and that she wanted to be a veterinarian who also fixed bicycles. Because animals and bikes both need someone to take care of them, Mia explained seriously. Amara found herself looking forward to these ordinary moments more than any business meeting or networking event. There was something deeply satisfying about Mia's uncomplicated acceptance, the way she included Amara in her world without questions or expectations. One Saturday afternoon, as autumn painted the trees around the courtyard, Mr. Patel approached Amara while she was helping Mia build a fort out of cardboard boxes. Miss Lowell, could I speak with you? Amara's heart sank. She followed him a few steps away, leaving Mia to perfect the fort's roof. I wanted to thank you, he said quietly. For what? For whatever you did to slow down the sale. Word is the acquisition talks have stalled. Amara felt relief and worry in equal measure. Mr. Patel, I can't make any promises about the long term. I understand. But every month we stay here is another month for families to plan, for people to find alternatives if they need to. He paused. Evan doesn't know I'm saying this, but he's been stressed about the uncertainty. Having you around has helped. I hope so. It has. Mr. Patel smiled. Mia talks about you constantly, and Evan, well, he's been different, happier. As Mr. Patel walked away, Amara felt the weight of what was building. These weren't just casual friendships anymore. She was becoming woven into the fabric of their lives, and they into hers. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. The shift happened on a Thursday evening in October. Amara had stopped by to drop off a book Mia had wanted, a picture book about space exploration, and found Evan in the courtyard, looking frustrated. What's wrong? She asked. The building's hot water heater died this afternoon. I've got 43 units with no hot water, and the replacement won't arrive until Monday. Amara thought about her own apartment with its reliable utilities and concierge service. What can I do to help? Evan looked at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. What do you mean? I mean, how can I help? There must be something. Amara, this is my job, my problem to solve. That doesn't mean you have to solve it alone. Evan studied her face. You're serious. Completely serious. 20 minutes later, Amara found herself in the basement of Harbor Court, holding a flashlight, while Evan worked on the old boiler. She'd traded her work clothes for jeans and a t-shirt Evan had borrowed from Mrs. Chen. Hand me that wrench, he said, his voice echoing in the small space. Amara had never held a wrench before, but she figured out which one he needed. As the evening progressed, she found herself genuinely engaged in the problem-solving process. There was something satisfying about working with her hands, about being useful in a concrete way. You know, Evan said, wiping sweat from his forehead, you're pretty good at this. At what? Being helpful without taking over. A lot of people either want to do everything themselves or just throw money at problems. Amara thought about her usual approach to difficulties. I'm learning that money doesn't fix everything. No, Evan agreed, but the right tools help. As they worked, other tenants stopped by to check on progress. Mrs. Chen brought them sandwiches. Mr. Patel offered to help carry parts. Young Luis from 3B brought coffee and stayed to hold the flashlight when Amara's arm got tired. This is nice, Amara said during a break. What is? This feeling of everyone pulling together, working toward the same goal. Evan looked around at their makeshift repair crew. Yeah, it is. We take care of each other here. I've never had that. Never? Amara shook her head. Growing up, if something broke, we called someone to fix it. If there was a problem, we hired someone to solve it. We didn't collaborate. Sounds lonely. It was. The admission surprised her. I didn't realize how lonely until I met all of you. When they finally got the boiler working again around 10 p.m., a small cheer went up from the gathered tenants. Evan tested the water in the basement sink and nodded with satisfaction. Hot water should be back in all units within the hour. As people dispersed with thanks and promises of baked goods, Evan turned to Amara. Thank you. Really. That was above and beyond. I liked it. Feeling useful, I mean. Being part of something bigger than myself. Evan stepped closer. Amara. Yeah? I think I'm falling for you. The words hung in the air between them. Amara felt her heart race. I think I'm falling for you, too. When he kissed her, soft and careful in the dim basement light, it felt like coming home to a place she'd never been before. After the boiler night, something shifted between them. The careful boundaries remained, but the space inside them grew warmer. Evan started texting her good morning. Amara began stopping by the grocery store to pick up things she'd noticed they needed. Mia, with the intuition of children everywhere, picked up on the change immediately. Are you Daddy's girlfriend now? She asked one afternoon while they colored together. Amara looked up from the elaborate rainbow she was creating. What would you think about that? Mia considered this seriously. I think it would be nice. You're good at catch, and you always remember to cut the crusts off my sandwiches. Those are important qualifications. And you make Daddy smile more. The simple observation hit Amara right in the heart. Do I? Uh-huh. Before you came, he used to get that worried face when he thought I wasn't looking. Now he just looks happy. That evening, when Evan walked Amara to her car, she told him about the conversation. She's not wrong, he said. You do make me smile more. Good. You make me feel like myself more. What do you mean? Amara thought about how to explain it. My whole life, people have seen the money first. The connections, the opportunities, the family name. You see me. Evan leaned against her car. What do I see? I don't know, you tell me. I see someone who's learning that the best things can't be bought. Someone who holds flashlights without complaining and remembers that a 6-year-old doesn't like sandwich crusts. He reached for her hand. I see someone brave enough to be ordinary with us. Ordinary sounds perfect. As October became November, their relationship settled into a rhythm that felt sustainable and real. Evan would cook dinner for the three of them on Sunday evenings. Amara would help Mia with her math homework on Wednesday afternoons. Friday nights were for grown-up dinners while Mia had sleepovers with her friend Jenny. It was during one of these Friday dinners that Amara met Gwen. She was leaving the restaurant when she nearly collided with a woman hurrying in from the rain. The woman was pretty in an understated way, with Mia's same dark eyes. Sorry, the woman said, then stopped. Oh, you're Amara. Amara's stomach dropped. And you're Gwen. They looked at each other for a moment that stretched awkwardly. Evan appeared beside them, his expression carefully neutral. Gwen, this is Amara. Amara, this is Gwen, Mia's mom. I figured, Amara said. She'd known this meeting would happen eventually, but she still felt unprepared. Gwen studied her with intelligent eyes. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone trying harder to impress me. Amara relaxed slightly. Would that work? Probably not. Gwen's smile was small but genuine. But I appreciate the honesty. Can I buy you coffee, if you have time? Gwen looked surprised by the offer. Actually, yes, that would be nice. They found a quiet coffee shop down the street. Gwen ordered decaf and explained she was between nursing shifts at the hospital. "How long have you been a nurse?" Amara asked. 8 years. I love it, but the hours are rough for single parenting." "That must be hard." "It is. That's why I'm grateful Evan and I figured out how to co-parent well. Mia needs consistency." Amara nodded. "She's an amazing kid." "She is." Gwen stirred sugar into her coffee. "She talks about you a lot. Says you're teaching her about constellations." "Just the basics. I used to be into astronomy when I was younger. She wants a telescope for Christmas." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Gwen spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Are you serious about them? About Evan and Mia?" The directness surprised Amara, but she appreciated it. "Yes, I am. Because Mia gets attached easily. And Evan, he's been hurt before." "By you?" Gwen shook her head. "Not by me. We were friends who tried to be more and realized we worked better as friends. But he dated someone a couple years ago who said she was fine with the single dad thing until she actually experienced it. The breakup was hard on all of us, but especially Mia." Amara felt a flare of protective anger toward someone she'd never met. "I'm not going anywhere. I want to believe that. But your worlds are pretty different." "They are, but that doesn't mean they can't work together." Gwen studied her for a long moment. "Mia likes you, really likes you. And Evan, I haven't seen him this happy in a long time. But if this doesn't work out, if you decide the complications are too much, please be honest about it early. Don't let it drag on until everyone's more invested." The conversation echoed Rose's advice about honesty, saving pain later. "I understand." "Good." Gwen's smile was warmer now. "Then welcome to the complicated world of co-parenting with the Carter family." As they parted ways, Amara felt like she'd passed some kind of test, not because Gwen had given her approval, but because they'd been honest with each other about what mattered most. November brought the first real test of their relationship. Amara's father called on a Tuesday morning with news. "The Harbor Court deal is back on the table. The seller wants to close before the end of the year." Amara's heart sank. "What changed?" "Market conditions, interest rates, the usual." Marcus's voice was businesslike but not unkind. "I've held them off as long as I can, sweetheart. But this is a good investment. What if we made a counteroffer, something that keeps the current tenants?" "The numbers don't work. I'm sorry." After hanging up, Amara sat in her office staring out at the gray sky. She'd known this moment would come, but she'd hoped for more time. Time to figure out a solution that worked for everyone. Her phone buzzed with a text from Evan. "Lunch today? Rose's has your favorite soup." Instead of her usual quick reply, Amara found herself staring at the message. How was she supposed to tell him that their borrowed time was running out? She typed and deleted a dozen responses before settling on, "Rain check? Dealing with work crisis." His reply was immediate. "Everything okay? We'll call you later." But when later came, Amara found herself driving to Harbor Court instead of calling. She needed to see Evan in person, needed to watch his face when she told him the news. She found him in the courtyard, helping Mia and several other kids build a leaf fort. The sight of him laughing with the children, completely present in the moment, made her chest tight. "Amara!" Mia ran over, leaves in her hair. "Look what we built!" The fort was an elaborate construction of raked leaves and strategically placed branches. "It's amazing," Amara said, meaning it. "Want to help make it bigger?" Amara looked at Evan, who was watching her with curious eyes. "Maybe in a minute, sweetheart. I need to talk to your dad first." Evan's expression shifted to concern. "What's wrong?" They walked a few steps away from the children. Amara took a breath. "The Harbor Court sale is back on. My father says we have to close before year end." Evan's face went very still. "How long?" 6 weeks, maybe 7. "And there's nothing you can do?" "I've tried everything I can think of. Alternative proposals, different financing structures, phased renovations." Amara's voice cracked slightly. "None of it works financially." Evan looked back at the children playing in their leaf fort, at the building that housed 43 families, at the life he'd built here. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay? I knew this day would come. I hoped it wouldn't, but I knew." He turned back to her. Thank you for telling me straight. Evan, I'm so sorry. I know you are. And I know you did everything you could. His calm acceptance somehow made it worse. What will you do? Start looking for another place. Talk to Mr. Patel about transferring our maintenance contracts to other buildings. He managed a small smile. Figure it out, like always. What about us? The question hung between them. Evan was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, he said finally. This doesn't change how I feel about you, but it does change the practical reality of our situation. How? Mia and I will probably have to move further out of the city, somewhere we can afford. My commute will be longer, which means less time for dinner dates and courtyard conversations. Amara felt something cold settle in her stomach, but we could make it work. Maybe, if you really want to. Of course I want to. Why would you even ask that? Evan looked at her directly. Because your life is going to stay the same, Amara. Same apartment, same job, same world. Ours is about to get turned upside down. Are you ready for what that looks like? Before she could answer, Mia ran over. Daddy, can Amara help us make the fort bigger now? Evan smiled at his daughter, the worry disappearing from his face like magic. Of course, baby. Show her where you need help. As Amara knelt in the leaves, listening to Mia's excited plans for expansion, she tried to imagine this same scene 7 weeks from now. A different courtyard, different children, different building. Would she still fit into this life when it wasn't conveniently located in her neighborhood? Would she still want quiet Sunday dinners and homework help when it meant driving an hour each way? The questions followed her home that night, settling heavy in her chest like stones. For the first time since meeting Evan and Mia, Amara wondered if love really could conquer all, or if some gaps were too wide to bridge, no matter how much you wanted to reach across them. The news of the sale spread through Harbor Court quickly. By the end of the week, Amara could see the stress in everyone's faces. Mrs. Chen looked tired. Mr. Patel carried a stack of apartment listings everywhere he went. Even Rosa at the diner seemed more subdued than usual. 43 families, she muttered, refilling Amara's coffee cup. 43 families with 6 weeks' notice. Amara had stopped coming to the diner for breakfast, but today she couldn't stay away. She needed to see familiar faces, even if those faces weren't entirely happy to see her. I'm sorry, Rosa. I tried to stop it. I know you did, honey. This isn't your fault. Rosa sat across from her, something she'd never done before. But I'm worried about people, about Evan. He says he'll figure it out. Of course he does. That boy's been figuring things out since he was 18 and suddenly had a baby to raise. Rosa's expression was fierce with protectiveness. But he shouldn't have to do it alone. He's not alone. He has Mia and Gwen and all of you. I'm not talking about them. Rosa's eyes were sharp. I'm talking about you. Amara felt heat rise in her cheeks. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. You love him and he loves you. But love without action is just pretty words. What action? What am I supposed to do? That's for you to figure out. But sitting here feeling guilty ain't helping anybody. After Rosa walked away to handle other customers, Amara sat with her words. Love without action is just pretty words. What action could she take? She'd already tried everything within the bounds of business. She'd advocated for alternative approaches, pushed for tenant protections, explored every financial option. But maybe she'd been thinking too small. That afternoon, Amara drove to Harbor Court with a new purpose. She found Evan in the maintenance room, surrounded by cardboard boxes and inventory lists. Packing already? She asked. Getting organized, seeing what tools belong to the building versus what I bought myself. He gestured around the small room. A lot of memories in here. Evan, I have an idea, but I need you to hear me out completely before you say anything. He set down his clipboard. Okay. What if I bought the building myself? Evan stared at her. What? Not through my father's company, personally. I have my own money, investments, trust funds. The words tumbled out faster. I could buy it and keep it as affordable housing. Maybe make some improvements, but maintain the community. Stop. Evan's voice was quiet but firm. Just think about it. Stop. He moved closer to her. Amara, you can't buy your way out of every problem. I'm not buying my way out. I'm buying my way in. Are you? Or are you trying to rescue us? The question hit like a slap. Does it matter? The outcome is the same. It matters to me. Evan's expression was pained. I can't be someone's charity case, even yours, especially yours. It wouldn't be charity, wouldn't it? You paying millions of dollars to keep my life convenient? Amara felt frustration building. Why is it so hard for you to let someone help? Because help and control look pretty similar sometimes, and because if you save my home, my job, my whole life, what does that make our relationship? Equal partnership, or you doing me a favor? His words stung because they contained truth she didn't want to acknowledge. So, what's the alternative? I just watch everything fall apart? You support me while I figure it out. You believe in me enough to know I can handle whatever comes next. But I have the means to fix this. And I have the need to not be fixed by you. They stood facing each other in the cluttered room, both breathing hard. Amara felt tears threatening. I don't understand, she said finally. I don't understand why pride matters more than practical solutions. Evan's expression softened. It's not about pride. It's about who we are to each other. If you solve all my problems, what do I bring to this relationship besides complications? You bring yourself. Your love, your kindness, your ability to make me feel more real than I've ever felt. Amara, he reached for her hands, those things don't pay rent. They don't find new apartments or transfer utility deposits. So I need to be able to take care of my own life, to know that when you're with me, it's because you want to be, not because you feel responsible for me. The argument felt circular, frustrating, impossible. But looking at Evan's face, Amara could see this wasn't really about the building. It was about something deeper. You're afraid, she said suddenly. Of what? Of being someone's project, of being saved instead of chosen. Evan was quiet for a long moment. Maybe I am. Well, I'm afraid too. Of what? Of watching you disappear into a life I can't follow. Of losing this before we figure out what it could be. They looked at each other across the small space, both carrying fears that felt too big for the room. So where does that leave us? Amara asked. I don't know, Evan admitted, but we've got 6 weeks to figure it out. As Amara left Harbor Court that evening, she felt the weight of an impossible situation. Every instinct told her to use her resources, to solve the problem, to fix what was broken. But for the first time in her life, she was learning that some problems couldn't be solved with money. Some problems required something much harder, faith. Faith that love could survive uncertainty. Faith that two people from different worlds could build something new together. Faith that sometimes the only way to help someone was to step back and let them help themselves. It was the hardest lesson Amara had ever learned, and she was about to discover it was only the beginning. The next few days passed in careful politeness. Amara and Evan texted good morning and good night, but their conversations felt strained. The weight of unspoken questions hung between them like a wall neither knew how to cross. Then, Saturday morning arrived with unexpected sunshine and a text from Mia. Daddy says pancakes at Rose's. Want to come? I saved you a knock-knock joke. Amara stared at the message, typed by small fingers on Evan's phone. How could she say no to that? She found them at their usual booth, Mia chattering excitedly about her upcoming talent show while Evan cut her pancakes into perfect squares. When he looked up and saw Amara, his smile was cautious but real. Hey, he said softly. Hey yourself. Amara slid into the booth across from them. I heard someone has a joke for me. Mia bounced in her seat. Knock, knock. Who's there? Orange? Orange who? Orange, you glad I saved you pancakes? Amara laughed genuinely for the first time in days. That's terrible and wonderful at the same time. I made it up myself, Mia said proudly. She's been working on original material, Evan explained, and there was something in his voice that sounded almost normal. Rosa appeared with coffee and an extra plate of pancakes. About time you showed up, she said to Amara. These two have been moping around here all week. We haven't been moping, Evan protested. Honey, you ordered your coffee black. You never order coffee black. Rosa shook her head. And little miss here asked for sad pancakes. What are sad pancakes? Amara asked. Regular pancakes, but she said they looked sad without you here to share them. Amara felt her chest tighten. She looked at Mia, who was concentrating very hard on her syrup distribution. I missed sharing pancakes too, she said quietly. As they ate, some of the tension began to ease. Mia filled the silence with stories about school, her upcoming soccer game, and her plans for Halloween. Evan added details and gentle corrections, falling back into the rhythm of fatherhood that always made Amara's heart ache in the best way. "What are we doing today?" Mia asked as they finished eating. Evan checked his watch. "Hardware store, park, grocery shopping, the usual Saturday stuff. Can Amara come?" The question hung in the air. Amara looked at Evan, trying to read his expression. "If she wants to," he said carefully. "But it's pretty boring stuff, kiddo." "I like boring stuff," Amara said, surprising herself. "I mean, if you don't mind the company." Something shifted in Evan's face. "I don't mind." The next few hours felt like a glimpse into a life Amara had never imagined wanting. At the hardware store, Evan explained different types of screws while Mia held the shopping basket and offered commentary on everything from paint colors to the merits of various hammers. "This one's too heavy," she declared, hefting a large hammer, "but this one's just right." She held up a smaller one with a pink handle. "Very scientific analysis," Amara said solemnly. At the park, they flew a kite that Evan had bought on impulse. Amara had never flown a kite before, which seemed to fascinate both Mia and Evan. "You hold it like this," Mia instructed, standing behind Amara and guiding her hands. "And when Daddy says run, you run, but not too fast." The first attempt ended with the kite nose-diving into the grass. The second attempt went better, and by the third, Amara was running across the field with Mia beside her, both of them laughing as the kite soared overhead. "You're a natural," Evan called from where he was managing the string. "I can't believe I've never done this before," Amara panted, watching the kite dance in the wind. "What did you do for fun when you were little?" Mia asked. Amara thought about piano lessons and language tutors and carefully supervised playdates. "I read a lot, and I had tennis lessons." "That sounds lonely," Mia said with the brutal honesty of childhood. "Sometimes it was," Amara admitted. At the grocery store, Amara learned about coupon clipping and store brands, and the serious business of choosing the right yogurt for a 6-year-old's lunchbox. "It has to be the kind with the cartoon animals," Mia explained, rejecting several options. "But not the ones with too much sugar because Daddy says that makes me hyper." "Very specific requirements," Amara said. "Kids know what they like," Evan said, adding the approved yogurt to their cart. As they walked through the aisles, Amara found herself studying Evan's face. He looked more relaxed than he had all week, focused on the simple task of providing for his daughter. There was something deeply attractive about his competence, the way he managed a dozen small decisions with quiet efficiency. "You okay?" he asked, noticing her stare. "Yeah, this is nice. Grocery shopping is nice. Being included is nice." When they reached the checkout, Amara automatically reached for her wallet, then stopped herself. Evan noticed the gesture and gave her a small smile. "I've got it," he said quietly. "I know you do." They ended the afternoon at the ferry pier, sitting on a bench while Mia fed seagulls with the last of her lunch crackers. The sun was beginning its descent toward the horizon, painting the water in shades of gold and pink. "Thank you for today," Amara said. "For what?" "For letting me be part of your normal Saturday, for not shutting me out after our fight." Evan was quiet for a moment. "You want to know the truth? I needed today too. To remember that this," he gestured between them, "isn't just about the building or money or any of that other stuff. It's about us." "What are we, Evan? Really?" He looked out at the water, then back at her. "I don't know yet, but I know I don't want to find out without you." Before she could respond, Mia ran back over, her face flushed with excitement. "The seagulls ate everything. Can we come back tomorrow and bring more crackers?" "We'll see," Evan said. "It depends on what tomorrow brings." As they walked back toward the parking area, Evan reached for Amara's hand. The simple gesture felt like a promise, like a choice being made, despite all the uncertainties ahead. "Tomorrow is Sunday," Mia announced. "That means pancakes and park time and movie night." "Sounds perfect," Amara said, squeezing Evan's hand. "Can we plan a picnic for next Sunday?" Mia asked. "A sunset picnic right here?" Amara and Evan exchanged glances. Next Sunday felt like a lifetime away, given everything that was happening with the building. "Let's see how the week goes," Evan said diplomatically, but as they reached the car, he turned to Amara. "Yes," he said quietly so only she could hear. Let's plan a picnic. That evening, as they said goodbye in the Harbor Court courtyard, Amara felt something settle in her chest. Not certainty. There was still too much unknown for that, but something like hope. I'll see you tomorrow, she asked. If you want to, I want to. As she drove home, Amara's phone rang. Her father's voice filled the car through the speaker. How was your day, sweetheart? Good, really good. She thought about kites and grocery lists and the feeling of Evan's hand in hers. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you remember being young and in love, before business and deals and all the complications? Marcus was quiet for a moment. I remember your mother. I remember thinking that nothing else mattered as much as making her happy. What happened to that feeling? Life happened. Responsibilities, pressures, the need to build something secure. His voice grew soft. But you know what I regret most? I let the building become more important than what I was building it for. Amara felt tears prick her eyes. It's not too late, Dad. No, he agreed. It's not. For either of us. The week that followed felt different. Instead of tiptoeing around their situation, Amara and Evan began talking about it directly, not with solutions or grand plans, but with honesty about their fears and hopes. On Tuesday morning over coffee, Evan told her about his conversation with Mr. Patel. He's found 3 possible buildings where he could transfer some of the maintenance contracts. 2 of them are about 40 minutes from here, one's an hour. How do you feel about that? Scared, he admitted. Mia's whole life is here, her school, her friends, our routines. But also, maybe it's time for something new. On Wednesday afternoon, while helping Mia with homework, Amara shared her own fears. I keep thinking about what happens when you're not right down the street anymore, when I can't just stop by after work. You think I'll forget about you if I'm not conveniently located? No, I think I'll have to figure out if what I feel for you is strong enough to drive an hour for dinner. And what's the answer? Amara looked at Mia, bent over her math worksheet with serious concentration, then at Evan, who was waiting for her response with patient eyes. I think it is. On Thursday evening, they had their first serious talk about the future, not the immediate crisis of the building sale, but what came after. If we do this, Evan said, if we try to make this work long-term, there are going to be complications. They were sitting in his small living room after Mia had gone to bed. The space was cozy and lived in, with crayon drawings on the refrigerator and a basket of laundry waiting to be folded. What kind of complications? Schedule conflicts, different priorities, the fact that your life moves at a different speed than ours. Those sound like logistical problems, not relationship enders. Are they? What happens when you need to work late and I've already committed to Mia's soccer game? Amara thought about it. I guess we figure it out case by case. And what happens when Mia gets sick and I have to cancel our date night 3 times in a row? Then I bring soup and help with bedtime stories. Evan smiled. You say that now. I mean it now. Evan, I'm not going into this blind. I see how complicated your life is. I see the juggling act, the constant prioritizing, the way every decision has to be filtered through what's best for Mia. She reached for his hand, and I want to be part of it anyway. Why? Because when I'm with you two, I feel like the best version of myself. Because Mia makes me laugh in ways I'd forgotten were possible. Because you see me as a person, not a trust fund. She paused. And because I think I love you, both of you. The words hung in the air between them. Evan's expression was soft and serious. Amara, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. I love you too, he said quietly. That's what makes this so complicated. If I didn't care about you, the building situation would be just another life change to manage. But I do care, more than I planned to. Is that a bad thing? No, but it means we both have more to lose. That night, as Amara drove home through the quiet streets, she thought about love and risk and the space between wanting something and being brave enough to reach for it. Her phone buzzed with a text from Evan. Thank you for today. For all of it, she typed back. Thank you for letting me love you. His response came immediately. Thank you for being worth loving. Friday brought an unexpected call from Gwen. I hope you don't mind me reaching out directly, she said, but I wanted to talk to you about something. They met at the same coffee shop where they'd first talked. This time, Gwen looked less guarded, more like a woman asking for help than conducting an interview. Evan told me about the building sale, she said, and about your offer to buy it. Amara shifted uncomfortably. He explained why that wouldn't work. He did, and he was right. But I wanted you to know that I appreciate the impulse behind it. What do you mean? I mean you care enough about them to want to fix their problems, even when the cost would be enormous. Gwen stirred her coffee thoughtfully. That says something about your character. But I also wanted to tell you something about Evan that he probably won't tell you himself. Amara waited. He's been taking care of people his whole life. His mom was sick when he was a teenager, so he worked part-time to help with bills. Then Mia came along when he was barely out of high school, and he's been managing everything solo ever since. Gwen's voice was gentle but firm. He's not used to people wanting to take care of him. I gathered that. What you might not have gathered is how much that scares him. Not the being taken care of part, but the depending on it. Because every time he's let himself rely on someone else, they've eventually decided he was too much work. Amara felt a flare of anger. I'm not going anywhere. I believe you, but he doesn't know how to believe that yet, so you're going to have to prove it. How? By staying when things get difficult, by showing up without being asked, by loving him and Mia consistently even when it's inconvenient. Gwen smiled. And by giving him space to figure out how to let you. What if the building sale changes everything? What if they have to move far away? Then you'll have to decide if what you have with them is worth the drive. After Gwen left, Amara sat in the coffee shop thinking about consistency and space and the difference between fixing someone's problems and walking beside them while they solved their own. Her phone rang. Marcus. I wanted to give you an update on Harbor Court, he said. We're scheduled to close next Friday. 1 week. Amara felt her stomach drop. That fast? The seller wants to be done before the holidays. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know this affects people you care about. Dad, what would happen if someone else made a higher offer? At this stage, it would have to be significantly higher, and it would have to come with proof of funds immediately. How significantly? Marcus named a figure that made Amara's breath catch. It was more than she had in liquid assets, though she could probably access it through various investments and trusts. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Marcus asked. Maybe. Amara, I support your feelings for this young man, but spending that kind of money to solve his housing problem is not the foundation for a healthy relationship. I know. Evan told me the same thing. She sighed. I just hate feeling helpless. You're not helpless. You're learning the difference between helping and enabling, between love and control. After they hung up, Amara sat in her car outside the coffee shop and made a decision. Not about the building. Evan had made his feelings clear about that, but about what she could control. She drove to Harbor Court with a purpose that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with presence. She found Evan in the courtyard, helping several tenants string lights for an impromptu community gathering. Mrs. Chen had made dumplings. Luis had brought a guitar. Mr. Patel was setting up folding chairs. What's all this? Amara asked. Goodbye party, Mia explained, running over with tinsel in her hair. We're celebrating our last Friday night here. Amara felt her throat tighten. That's a good way to think about it. Daddy says we should focus on the good parts instead of being sad about the ending parts. Evan approached, carrying a string of lights. Hey, I didn't expect to see you tonight. I wanted to be here, if that's okay. More than okay. He handed her one end of the light string. Want to help? For the next hour, Amara found herself fully immersed in the simple task of creating something beautiful with people she'd grown to care about. She held ladders while Evan hung lights. She helped Mrs. Chen arrange food on tables. She listened to Luis play guitar while Mia and the other children danced on the grass. This is nice, she said to Evan during a quiet moment. Sad, but nice. Yeah, it feels like the right way to say goodbye. Any word on new housing? A few possibilities. Nothing definite yet, but I'm hopeful. He looked around at the gathering. You know what's funny? A month ago, the thought of leaving here felt like the end of the world. Now it just feels like Change. What's different? Evan looked at her directly. You. Having you in our corner makes the unknown feel less scary. Before Amara could respond, Mr. Patel approached with news. Evan, I got a call back from the Riverside complex. They want to interview you Monday for the head maintenance position. That's the one 40 minutes away? Yes, but good benefits, and they're including a 2-bedroom apartment in the compensation package. Evan's face lit up. Really? Really. It's not here, but it could be good. After Mr. Patel walked away, Evan turned to Amara. 40 minutes isn't so far. No, she agreed. It's not. Want to ride with me to the interview? You could see the place, meet some of the people. The offer surprised her. You want me there? I want you to see what we might be moving toward, to help me figure out if it feels right. Amara felt something warm spread through her chest. This wasn't about her solving his problems or fixing his situation. This was about her being part of his decision-making process, being included in his life in a real and meaningful way. I'd love to come, she said. As the evening wound down and neighbors began cleaning up, Mia approached Amara with serious eyes. Are you still going to be my friend when we live somewhere else? Amara knelt down to Mia's eye level. Absolutely. Distance doesn't change friendship. Promise? I promise. In fact, I have an idea. What if we planned that sunset picnic we talked about, next Sunday, right here at the pier? One last Harbor Court adventure. Mia's face lit up, like a celebration. Exactly like a celebration. As they said goodbye that night, Evan pulled Amara aside. Thank you for being here tonight, for not trying to fix things, just for being present. Thank you for including me. Amara, I want you to know something. Whatever happens with housing, with distance, with any of the practical stuff, I'm not giving up on us. Good, because neither am I. When he kissed her goodnight under the string lights they had hung together, it felt like a promise, not just of romance, but of partnership. Of two people choosing to build something together, regardless of what obstacles came their way. As Amara drove home, she felt lighter than she had in weeks, not because their problems were solved, but because they were finally facing them together. Sunday arrived with perfect weather and a sense of anticipation. Amara had spent Saturday shopping for picnic supplies, consulting with Mia via text about essential items like juice boxes and the right kind of crackers for seagull feeding. She arrived at the ferry pier at 5 o'clock to find Evan and Mia already there, setting up a blanket in the perfect spot for sunset viewing. Mia ran to greet her wearing a new dress that was clearly designated as picnic fancy. You look beautiful, Amara said, meaning it. Daddy said this was a special occasion, Mia replied seriously, so I wore my special dress. The next hour passed in easy contentment. They ate sandwiches and fruit salad and the elaborate cookies Amara had ordered from Rose's bakery. Mia regaled them with knock-knock jokes while seagulls circled hopefully nearby. As the sun began to sink toward the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Mia fell asleep against Amara's shoulder, worn out from a day of excitement. She's had a big week, Evan said softly, smoothing his daughter's hair. How did the interview go? Amara asked. They'd talked briefly about it, but this was their first chance to discuss details. Good, really good. The apartment is nice, the team seems solid, and the benefits are better than what I have now. But, Evan smiled, but I was hoping you'd help me make the final decision. What can I tell you that you don't already know? Whether it feels like a place where we could build something, all three of us. The words hung in the air between them. Amara felt her heart race. All three of us? If you want to be part of it, I know it's fast and I know it's complicated, but Amara, I can't imagine making this move without knowing you'll be part of whatever comes next. Amara looked down at Mia, sleeping peacefully in her arms, then at Evan, whose eyes were full of hope and vulnerability. Yes, she said simply, I want to be part of it. Even if it means 40-minute drives and different routines and figuring out how to blend your world with ours, especially then. When Evan kissed her as the sun touched the water, it felt like sealing a promise, not just between the two of them, but between three people who were choosing to become a family. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his backpack. He pulled out a small wrapped package. Inside was a key. To the new apartment? Amara asked. To wherever we end up. I want you to have a place in our home, officially." Amara felt tears spring to her eyes. "Evan, too fast?" "No. Perfect timing!" As they packed up their picnic, Mia stirring awake in time to help carry things to the car, Amara felt a sense of completion she'd never experienced before. Not the completion that came from acquiring something new, but the completion that came from finding where she belonged. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. "How's the picnic?" She typed back, "Perfect. Dad, I think I'm going to be very happy." His response came immediately. "That's all I ever wanted for you." As they walked back toward the parking area, Mia between them holding both their hands, Amara caught sight of someone taking photos near the pier. A jogger in a hoodie, phone raised in their direction. Something about it felt wrong, but before she could mention it to Evan, the person had melted back into the crowd of evening walkers. Probably just a tourist capturing the sunset, she told herself. But as they drove home, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that their perfect evening had been observed by someone who shouldn't have been watching. She decided not to worry about it. Nothing could touch the happiness she felt right now, the sense of rightness about the choice they were making. Tomorrow, Evan would accept the job at Riverside. Next month, they would move to a new apartment 40 minutes away, and she would figure out how to build a life that spanned the distance between her world and theirs. It would be complicated and messy, and nothing like the life she'd planned. It would also be perfect. Monday morning brought devastating news in the form of a phone call from Marcus. "Amara, we need to talk. There's been a development." "What kind of development?" "The kind that involves photos and gossip websites and headlines I don't want to repeat over the phone. Can you come to the office?" Amara's blood ran cold. "Dad, what are you talking about? Just come in, now." An hour later, Amara sat in her father's office staring at a laptop screen that showed a gossip blog headline, "Heiress buys building, buys boyfriend." Below it was a photo from last night's picnic. A photo of her, Evan, and Mia at the pier, looking every inch like a happy family. The angle made it appear as though Evan was kissing her while she held someone else's child. "Read the article," Marcus said grimly. Amara scrolled through paragraphs that made her stomach turn. The piece implied that she'd been slumming with a maintenance worker, that the building purchase was connected to her relationship, that she was collecting strays as a hobby. The comments below were worse, full of speculation about Evan's motives and cruel remarks about Mia. "How did they get this information?" Amara asked. "Someone's been feeding them details, the building sale, your relationship, even specifics about Evan's job." "Who would do that?" "Someone with access to information and a reason to cause trouble." Amara thought about the photographer at the pier, the feeling of being watched. This is going to destroy him. "I'm afraid it already has. The story went live 2 hours ago." Amara grabbed her phone and called Evan. It went straight to voicemail. "I have to go," she said, standing up. "Amara, wait. We need to discuss damage control." "There is no damage control for this, Dad. There's only trying to protect the people I love." But when she arrived at Harbor Court, she was too late. Evan's truck was gone, and Mrs. Chen met her in the courtyard with sad eyes. "He took Mia and left about an hour ago," she said gently. "He was very upset." "Did he say where he was going?" "No, but he asked me to give you this." Mrs. Chen handed her an envelope with her name written in Evan's careful handwriting. Inside was a note that made her heart break. "Amara, I can't let Mia be part of this circus. She's already heard kids at school talking about the rich lady and her daddy. This is exactly what I was afraid of when I said we lived in different worlds. I need to protect her, even if it means protecting her from you. I'm sorry. Evan." Amara read the note 3 times before the words fully sank in. He was gone. They both were. And she had no idea how to find them or fix what had been broken. As she stood in the empty courtyard where they'd shared so many moments, Amara finally understood what Evan had been trying to tell her all along. Love wasn't always enough. Sometimes the world outside that love was too cruel, too invasive, too willing to destroy beautiful things for entertainment. But as tears rolled down her cheeks, Amara also knew something else. She wasn't giving up. Not on Evan, not on Mia, and not on the family they'd almost become. She just had to figure out how to fight back. The first thing Amara did was call her father. "I need you to find out who leaked that information to the gossip site," she said without preamble. Sweetheart, I'm not sure that's... Dad, someone deliberately tried to destroy my relationship. Someone with inside knowledge about the Harbor Court deal and my personal life. I need to know who it was. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Give me 24 hours. The next thing Amara did was drive to Rosa's diner. If anyone knew where Evan might have gone, it would be Rosa. She found the older woman wiping down tables with more force than necessary, her expression thunderous. That poor boy, Rosa muttered when she saw Amara. That poor, sweet boy and his little girl. Have you heard from him? He called this morning, said he was taking some time away, that he'd be in touch when things settled down. Rosa threw her dish rag into a bucket. Didn't say where he was going, but I could hear the hurt in his voice. Amara slumped into a booth. This is my fault. I should have been more careful, more aware of who might be watching. Honey, this is not your fault. This is the fault of whoever decided to make money off other people's private business. Rosa sat across from her. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I don't know. He won't answer my calls. I don't know where he is. And even if I found him, what would I say? The damage is already done. Is it? Or are you giving up before you've really fought? Rosa's words stung because they held truth. What am I supposed to fight? The internet? Gossip bloggers? People who think our relationship is entertainment? No. You fight for what matters. You show that boy that your love is stronger than other people's opinions. You prove that you're willing to stand up for him and that little girl, no matter what it costs. How? Rosa smiled for the first time since Amara had arrived. That's for you to figure out. But I'll tell you this. Evan Carter is the kind of man who judges people by their actions, not their words. So stop talking and start doing. That evening, Amara sat in her apartment with her laptop open, reading every comment on the gossip article. Each one made her angrier and more determined. People were calling Evan a gold digger, suggesting Mia wasn't really his daughter, speculating about Amara's motives in ways that made her sick. But buried in the cruel comments were a few different voices. People defending their relationship, calling out the unfairness of the coverage, pointing out that love didn't recognize class boundaries. One comment in particular caught her attention. I live in that building, they mentioned. Evan Carter is the best maintenance supervisor we've ever had. He cares about people, not money. Leave him alone. It was signed Mrs. Chen 2024. Amara smiled through her tears. Even in the middle of this mess, the Harbor Court community was standing up for one of their own. That gave her an idea. She opened a new document and began to write. 24 hours later, Marcus called with news. I found your leak. Jennifer Walsh from the marketing department. Apparently she's been dating a blogger from that gossip site for 3 months. Amara felt a cold fury settle in her stomach. Jennifer had been at several company meetings where Harbor Court was discussed. She'd also been at the office party where Amara had mentioned Evan in passing to a colleague. She's fired, Amara said immediately. Already done. But Amara, that doesn't fix the damage that's been done. No, but it's a start. After hanging up with her father, Amara made another call, this one to the editor of the city's largest newspaper. Ms. Rodriguez, this is Amara Lowell. I have a story I'd like to propose, an editorial piece about privacy, dignity, and the cost of treating real people like entertainment. The op-ed ran 3 days later under the headline, When Gossip Becomes Cruelty, a Personal Response. Amara had written it carefully, consulting with her father's legal team to ensure every word was measured but powerful. She didn't mention Evan or Mia by name, but she wrote about the cost of invasive coverage, the damage done to innocent children, and the need for basic human decency even in the age of social media. The piece concluded, Love doesn't recognize bank accounts or social status. It recognizes kindness, integrity, and the courage to build something meaningful together. When we mock those connections for entertainment, we diminish our own capacity for empathy and joy. We can do better. We must do better. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The newspaper's website crashed from traffic. The op-ed was shared thousands of times. Other outlets picked up the story, framing it as a defense of privacy and dignity rather than celebrity gossip. But most importantly, it started a conversation about boundaries and respect that extended far beyond Amara's personal situation. Still, there was no word from Evan. On Friday morning, exactly 1 week after the gossip article had destroyed everything, Amara received an unexpected visitor. Gwen stood at her door, holding a cup of coffee and wearing a determined expression. "We need to talk," she said without preamble. They sat in Amara's living room, surrounded by the expensive furniture and art that suddenly felt cold and unwelcoming. "He's at my place," Gwen said without being asked. "Mia doesn't understand why they can't go home, why kids at school are asking weird questions about her dad's rich girlfriend." Amara felt her heart break a little more. "How is she?" "Confused. Sad. She keeps asking when she'll see you again." "And Evan?" "Hurt. Angry. Scared that this is just the beginning, that being with you will always mean living under a microscope." Gwen leaned forward. "But also miserable without you. I don't know how to fix this." "You can't. Not completely. But you can show him that you're willing to fight for your relationship, instead of just walking away when things get difficult." "How? He won't take my calls." "Then stop calling and start showing up." Gwen pulled out her phone. "Mia has a soccer game tomorrow at 10, Riverside Elementary. He'll be there." Amara stared at the address Gwen was texting her. "You want me to ambush him at his daughter's soccer game? I want you to show him that you care more about being part of their lives than protecting yourself from embarrassment." Gwen stood up. "But fair warning. If you show up tomorrow, you better be prepared to deal with whatever attention it brings, because there might be more photographers, more gossip, more people trying to make your private business their entertainment. And if I'm not ready for that, then let them go. Let them build a life without you, because Evan can't afford to put Mia through this uncertainty forever." After Gwen left, Amara sat in her quiet apartment thinking about courage and consequences. Showing up at Mia's soccer game would be risky. There could be more cameras, more articles, more cruel commentary. But not showing up would be worse. It would mean choosing safety over love, comfort over commitment. It would mean proving that Evan had been right to be afraid. Saturday morning dawned gray and drizzly, perfect weather for a soccer game that would determine the trajectory of Amara's entire future. She dressed carefully, jeans, sneakers, a simple jacket. Nothing that would seem out of place at a children's sporting event. She braided her hair and left her expensive jewelry at home. The drive to Riverside Elementary took 35 minutes, giving her plenty of time to rehearse what she might say to Evan if he gave her the chance to speak. She arrived 15 minutes before the game started, parking at the far end of the lot and walking toward the field with her heart hammering. There were other families setting up chairs along the sidelines, parents with coffee cups and siblings in strollers. And there, on a blanket near the center of the field, was Evan. He was alone, his attention focused on the girls warming up in their bright yellow jerseys. Even from a distance, Amara could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he kept checking his phone as if hoping for something. She walked closer, each step feeling monumental. Evan. He turned at the sound of her voice, his expression cycling through surprise, wariness, and something that might have been relief. "Amara, what are you doing here?" "Watching Mia play soccer, if that's okay." "How did you?" "Gwen told me. She thought I should be here." Evan looked around the field, probably checking for cameras or unwanted attention. "This isn't safe for you. If someone sees, then they see. I'm not hiding anymore." Before he could respond, a small yellow blur launched itself in their direction. "Amara!" Mia wrapped herself around Amara's waist, her face bright with joy. "You came. Daddy said you might be too busy, but you came." Amara knelt down to Mia's level, drinking in the sight of the little girl she'd missed so desperately. "I wouldn't miss your game for anything. We're playing the Green Dragons today. They're really good, but Coach says we're better." "I'm sure you are." Mia looked between her father and Amara with the perceptive eyes of a child who'd sensed tension she didn't understand. "Are you mad at each other?" she asked. "No, sweetheart," Evan said gently. "We're not mad." "Then why haven't you been coming to see us?" Amara felt her throat tighten. "Sometimes grown-ups have to figure out complicated things, but that doesn't mean we stop caring about each other." "Oh." Mia seemed to accept this explanation. "Well, I missed you. I missed you too. So much." The referee's whistle called the teams to the field. Mia hugged Amara once more and ran toward her position, leaving Amara and Evan standing awkwardly together. "You didn't have to come," Evan said quietly. "Yes, I did." They sat on his blanket, maintaining careful distance while watching Mia race up and down the field with fierce determination. For a while, the game provided enough distraction to avoid the conversation they both knew was coming. But in the second half, when Mia scored a goal and immediately looked to the sidelines to make sure they'd both seen it, the pretense became impossible to maintain. "We need to talk," Evan said. "I know. But not here. Not in front of—" "Daddy! Amara!" Mia was running toward them, grass-stained and glowing with triumph. "Did you see my goal?" "It was perfect," Amara said, catching Mia in a hug. "I'm so proud of you." "We won 3-2. Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" Amara looked at Evan, who nodded reluctantly. "Ice cream sounds perfect," she said. They found a small ice cream shop near the elementary school, the kind of family place with sticky tables and more flavors than anyone could possibly need. Mia ordered a sundae with extra sprinkles, while Amara and Evan settled for coffee. "Tell me about your goal," Amara said, focusing on Mia while acutely aware of Evan's presence beside her. Mia launched into an elaborate play-by-play that involved strategy, teamwork, and what sounded like considerable drama regarding a disputed foul. Amara listened with genuine attention, asking questions and celebrating each detail as if it were the most important thing in the world, which, she was beginning to realize, it was. When Mia finished her sundae and went to wash her hands, Evan finally spoke. "I read your article, the op-ed. And? It was brave, and right, and probably exactly what needed to be said. But it doesn't change the fundamental problem. You're Amara Lowell, daughter of one of the most powerful real estate developers in the state. I'm a maintenance supervisor with a 6-year-old. People are going to be interested in that story whether we want them to be or not." Amara had spent a week thinking about this exact issue. "You're right. People probably will be interested. There might be more articles, more photos, more speculation about our relationship. And you're okay with that?" "I'm okay with facing it together. What I'm not okay with is losing you and Mia because we're afraid of what other people might think." Evan was quiet for a moment. "Amara, that article, some of those comments about Mia, were cruel and wrong and written by people who don't matter?" Amara leaned forward. "Evan, do you think I care about you because of some social experiment or charity project?" "No, but do you think I'm using you to make myself feel better about my privileged life?" "No, but that's not the point." "Then what is the point? Because from where I sit, the only opinions that matter are yours, mine, and Mia's. Everyone else is just noise." "It's not that simple." "Why not? Why can't it be that simple?" Evan struggled for words. "Because when people attack you, they attack her too. And I can't protect her from strangers on the internet saying horrible things about our family." Amara felt something click into place. "Our family." "What?" "You said our family, not my family or me and Mia. Our family." Evan's cheeks flushed. You meant exactly what you said. We're already a family, Evan. The people trying to tear us down can see it even if you're scared to admit it." Mia returned from the bathroom, sliding back into the booth beside Amara. "What are we talking about?" "About whether we're brave enough to be a family even when it's complicated," Amara said, looking directly at Evan. "We're already a family," Mia said matter-of-factly. "Families are people who love each other and take care of each other. That's us. Out of the mouths of babes." Evan looked at his daughter, then at Amara, something shifting in his expression. "It is complicated," he said finally. "The best things usually are," Amara replied. "And there will probably be more gossip, more attention, more people who think they have the right to comment on our private business." "Probably. And you're sure you want to sign up for that?" Amara reached across the table and took his hand. "I'm sure I want to sign up for you. For both of you. For Sunday morning pancakes and soccer games and homework help and all the ordinary, complicated, wonderful things that make a life. Even if it means 40-minute drives in different social circles and figuring out how to blend two very different worlds. Especially then." Evan was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing patterns on her hand. "I missed you," he said finally. "We both did." "I missed you too." "Daddy," Mia said quietly, "does this mean Amara can come to our new apartment when we move next week?" "What do you think, kiddo? Should we ask Amara to help us unpack boxes and decide where the furniture goes?" Mia's smile was brighter than all the ice cream shop's neon signs combined. Yes. And can she come to Pancakes tomorrow at Rose's? I have 3 new knock-knock jokes to tell her. Amara laughed, feeling lighter than she had in a week. I would love to hear your new jokes. As they walked back to their cars, Mia skipping between them and chattering about everything from soccer strategy to ice cream flavors, Amara felt the pieces of her world settling back into place. Not the same configuration as before. This was better. More real, more grounded, more connected to what actually mattered. Amara, Evan said as they reached her car, there's something I need to tell you. Her heart skipped. What? I love you. I've been scared to say it because love makes everything more complicated. But I love you. I love you too. And I want to try this, really try it, all of it. Good. Because I already started apartment hunting in Riverside. Evan stared at her. You what? I found a place 10 minutes from your new apartment, assuming you want me that close. Amara, too much too fast? No, perfect timing. When he kissed her in the parking lot of a small-town ice cream shop, with Mia cheering in the background and rain starting to fall on their heads, it felt like coming home, not to a place, but to a people, to the family they'd chosen to build together. 3 weeks later, Amara stood in the living room of her new apartment, surrounded by boxes and trying to decide where to hang the photo from Mia's soccer game. The apartment was smaller than her Harbor Court place, simpler, closer to everything that mattered. Higher, Mia called from her perch on the couch. It needs to be where everyone can see it when they come in. She's the expert on photo placement, Evan said, carrying in another box marked kitchen stuff. Among other things, Amara agreed. They'd spent the morning moving her belongings, a project that had turned into an impromptu neighborhood introduction when Mrs. Patterson from next door brought over fresh muffins and stayed to help arrange furniture. This feels right, Amara said, looking around at the organized chaos of a life being rebuilt. It does, Evan agreed. Different from what either of us planned, but right. Can we have a housewarming party? Mia asked. With Rosa and Mrs. Chen and Mr. Patel and Gwen and Grandpa Marcus? Amara and Evan exchanged glances. Marcus had visited the week before, officially meeting Evan and Mia in person. The meeting had gone better than anyone expected, with Marcus teaching Mia to play chess and Evan showing him how to fix a squeaky door hinge. A housewarming party sounds perfect, Amara said, but first we need to finish unpacking. And we need to go grocery shopping, Evan added. The refrigerator is embarrassingly empty. And I need to practice my knock-knock jokes for the party, Mia said seriously. As they worked together to transform the apartment into a home, Amara marveled at how natural it felt. There had been adjustments, learning to coordinate schedules, figuring out the best routes between their apartments, navigating the logistics of sudden parenthood. But the important things, the heart things, had fallen into place with surprising ease. The gossip articles had eventually died down, replaced by other scandals and celebrity drama. Amara's op-ed had sparked ongoing conversations about privacy and dignity, but more importantly, it had established clear boundaries about what she would and wouldn't tolerate. You know what I realized, she said, taking a break from unpacking to watch Evan and Mia assemble a bookshelf together. What? I spent my whole life thinking happiness was something you could buy. A bigger apartment, a better car, more expensive vacations. But this, she gestured around the modest apartment filled with mismatched furniture and moving boxes. This is the richest I've ever felt. Even though you're living in a place that costs less than your old monthly parking fee, Evan teased. Especially because of that, for the first time in my life, I'm investing in something that actually appreciates in value. What's that? Love. Family. The ordinary magic of building a life with people who see you for who you really are. Mia looked up from her instruction reading duties. That's a really long way to say we make you happy. Amara laughed. You're right. You make me happy, both of you. Good, Mia said, returning to the bookshelf instructions. Because you make us happy, too. That evening, after Mia had gone to bed in the room they'd prepared for her weekend stays, Amara and Evan sat on the couch in their new living room, surrounded by the debris of a day spent building something together. No regrets? Evan asked. About what? Leaving your fancy apartment, moving to the suburbs, signing up for soccer games every Saturday for the next 12 years. Amara curled against his side, feeling the solid warmth of him beneath her cheek. Not a single one. You? Not a single one. Even when I mess up dinner because I'm still learning to cook for 3 people. Especially then. Even when I have to work late and miss bedtime stories. As long as you make up for it with pancake breakfasts. Even when reporters occasionally ask intrusive questions about our relationship. As long as we handle it together. Amara tilted her head to look at him. Together sounds perfect. It does. Outside their new apartment, the suburban neighborhood was settling into evening quiet. Children's voices carried from backyards. Dogs barked friendly greetings. Somewhere nearby, someone was grilling dinner and filling the air with the scent of summer. It was ordinary and peaceful, and nothing like the life Amara had imagined for herself. It was also exactly where she belonged. Evan? Thank you. For what? For teaching me the difference between having everything and having enough. What's the difference? Everything is about accumulation. Enough is about appreciation. She pressed a kiss to his shoulder. I have enough. Good. Because this is about to get a lot more complicated. Amara sat up, alarmed. What do you mean? Evan was grinning. Mia's been asking when we're going to give her a baby brother or sister. She has not. She has. Apparently families in her class have multiple children, and she feels like she's missing out. Amara felt her heart skip, but in a good way. And what did you tell her? That we're still figuring out how to be a family of 3. And that when we're ready for more people to love, we'll talk about it. When we're ready, Amara repeated. I like the sound of that. Good. Because I have a feeling this is just the beginning of our adventures. As if summoned by their conversation about her, Mia appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, hair mussed from sleep. I had a bad dream, she said. Come here, sweetheart, Amara said, making room on the couch. Mia climbed between them, settling in like she'd been doing it her whole life. Better? Evan asked, smoothing her hair. Much better. Will you tell me? The story about the brave princess who fixed things instead of waiting to be rescued? Amara and Evan exchanged glances. It was a story they'd made up together, about a princess who used her resources to help others and found her happiest ending in service rather than luxury. Once upon a time, Amara began, there was a princess who had everything money could buy. But she was lonely, Mia continued, knowing the story by heart, until one day she met a brave knight and his clever daughter. And they taught her that the best treasures can't be bought. They can only be built one day at a time, with patience and love and the courage to choose people over possessions. And they lived happily ever after, Mia finished sleepily. Not ever after, Evan corrected gently, the way he always did. Happily right now, because the best stories don't end. They just keep getting better. As Mia drifted back to sleep between them, Amara thought about endings and beginnings and the space in between where real life happened. She'd started this journey looking for something money couldn't buy. She'd found a love that no amount of wealth could purchase or poverty diminish, a family that chose each other every day, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. A life built on the radical notion that ordinary moments, shared with extraordinary people, were the greatest luxury of all. Outside their window, the last light of evening faded into night. Inside their new home, 3 people who'd found each other against all odds settled into sleep, dreaming of soccer games and pancake breakfasts and all the beautiful, complicated tomorrows still to come. It wasn't the ending Amara had planned. It was infinitely better. It was the beginning of everything. 1 year later. The courtyard movie night at Riverside Gardens was Mia's idea, inspired by memories of Harbor Court and a desire to bring their new community together. Amara and Evan had helped organize it, but the success belonged entirely to their neighbors, families who'd contributed blankets and snacks and technical expertise until the small courtyard behind their apartment complex had been transformed into an outdoor theater. This is perfect, Marcus said, settling into the folding chair Mia had assigned to him. He'd become a regular visitor, drawn by his granddaughter's knock-knock jokes and his son-in-law's patient chess lessons. Better than any movie premiere I've ever attended. That's because it's not about the movie, Mia explained seriously. It's about being together. The movie was starting. The same family comedy they'd watched that first night at the Harbor Court Green. But everything else was different. Better, more settled, more real, more theirs. Amara leaned against Evan's shoulder as the opening credits rolled, watching their community settle in for the evening. Mrs. Patterson had brought her famous brownies. The Martinez family had contributed a EK popcorn machine. Even Rosa had made the drive from downtown to join them, claiming she wouldn't miss the reunion of my favorite lovebirds. Happy? Evan murmured against her ear. Completely. Even though we're watching the same movie we saw on our first date? Especially because of that. Some things are worth repeating. As the movie played and darkness settled around them, Amara thought about the journey that had brought them here. The fear and uncertainty, the obstacles that had seemed insurmountable, the moments when love hadn't felt like enough. All of it had led to this, a warm summer evening, surrounded by people they loved, watching Mia fall asleep against her father's shoulder while stars appeared overhead. She'd had everything money could buy. Now she had something much more valuable. She had enough. And enough, as it turned out, was everything.